This room is actually very special. It looks a lot like the room that we shot Sweatin' to the Oldies 1 in, which is actually the Santa Monica Women's Bay Club, if you've ever been there. Now, it looked like this then. It looks a lot nicer now. It's kind of fancy, but it looked like this. The day Sweatin' to the Oldies 1 was shot, no one had ever used a live band in an exercise video before. It was all that canned, elevator-y kind of music. So Richard said, we're going to do a live band. Okay. We had 2 days to actually shoot the video. At the end of the first day, which went extremely late, we had shot one song. And that was the opening. It was so difficult to use a live band. Also, some of you that have been in some of the videos, and I recognize you, and it's nice to see you, you had your wardrobe done and your makeup done. No. We had to bring our own clothes and do our own makeup. A lovely person by the name of Tammy ended up fixing the makeup for everybody because we didn't know what we were doing. And everybody came in black clothes. And of course, did Richard like black clothes? It had to be every kind of color you could imagine. So some of you that are as old as me remember a store called Pure Sweat in town. We all had non-matching clothes you could find, and they looked really great. So this room had the stage that was where the band was, and we were down there. And the second day we shot the entire rest of the video, it went well into the early morning of the next day, and we had to keep squirting like water on us to make it look like we were sweating because, you know, it wasn't the case. So that is the history of why we're in this room. And I walked in and said, wow, it looks just like the room. So it means something. Also, Beverly Hills is very special to Richard. Slimmons, which was actually first called the Anatomy Asylum, and if you'd like to hear that history later on, I'll tell it to you. Slimmons was a cleaner's on Civic Center Drive. And Richard found it, and he said, I want my studio there. And then they had actually leased it to somebody else before he got it together. And he, as only Richard can do, was able to persuade them to lease it to him instead. And for the entire time that he was there, he leased it month to month. And that is a true story. So I wanted to be in Beverly Hills because it meant so much to him, and this is where he wanted his studio to be. And it kind of became a central point. In fact, when we did a program called Mission to Move, which I'll tell you about later if you want to hear it, and we went to save the town in St. Joe, Missouri, they used to refer to this and Slimmons as headquarters. And like, oh, that sounds cool. If they only really saw what it looked like, it doesn't really look like headquarters, but it sounded really cool, like headquarters. So that's it. Okay, the program today is, I know some of you haven't exercised for a while. That's okay. We're going to keep it low impact. We're going to keep it really basic. And you know what? We're doing it just the way he did. If it feels like we're going to do it. We are going to form the circle, of course. A very good friend of ours, a longtime student, Laura Dodona, hello, Laura, asked for a production number, so we got him. And you'll be in the center too, and whatever you do, you do. The teachers have been, Bob has been up all night making his shirt. By the way, have you seen Bob's shirt? And so I really just have fun. And there's a special meaning to some of the songs, and sometimes I'll stop and tell you, especially if we need water. There's water in the back. And yes, Marcia, you'll be leading at some point too. Oh, yes, you will. That's just too bad. All right. The philosophy of Richard Simmons was twofold. Exercise needs to be for everybody. I mean, you've all heard the story, how he was kind of like kicked out of certain classes, and he wanted a place that you could feel comfortable no matter what. The second philosophy really came to light in our Sit Tight video. You move whatever moves. Whatever in your body moves, whatever body part moves, that's what you move. And you can just have fun. All right, that's done. Now let me introduce you to some of the teachers. They can wave. Bob Merrick, and he came to Slimmons in 2004. Kat Shanley went through our Hoot Camp program, and she came in 1998. And then we have Dana, also in 1998. Cynthia, right here, 1987. Rudy Gizzy, where are you? Wave. Right. Rudy Gizzy, 1983. Sue Murphy, 1982. And myself, also 1982. And we can tell you some more later. After we do our little dancing, we are going to actually have the memorial that we need to have. We'll form a circle. We will pass the mic. Some of you wrote down your memories. Bob has some memories to read from the virtual people, and they will, I think we'll be able to hear them too. And this is where we get to talk about Richard and talk about anything, yourself. So this is your chance to say what you want to say with all your friends. I also want to make a very special point, to make a very special get. Marla, please wave your hand. All right. Marla was formerly Marla Penley, and her mom, Judy Penley, was our manager. So, and that's her husband. Oh, yes, your brother. Yes, your brother, Jason. Thank you, Jason. Yes. And again, if you want to know the history of why it was Anatomy Asylum became Slimmons, I'll tell you that in the talking part. I'm trying not to make you listen to me that much, but I kind of know most of the history. That's the problem. All right. But anyway, we're going to get started now. There's, again, names that should be here today, Judy Penley being one of them, Mary Graves being another, Richard's right-hand person, and he couldn't do anything without her. A lady by the name of Betty Zuniga that Rudy knows very well. These are original Anatomy Asylum people. Tally Davies. Twyla Danielle was the very first trainer. She was the very first one that ever trained all of us in how to be teachers. And Sam. And I will tell you one funny thing before we start. When the classes first began nationwide, okay, now you go back to 1982, so please know this is completely politically incorrect. The classes for people that were watching their weight or were called overweighter classes. Yeah. And then the other classes were called standard. And so they said, okay, we're going to make the standard rooms really big. This is when it went nationwide, which we can talk about later. And we're making standard rooms really big, and we'll just put, they made these little rooms for overweighters classes. Well, it was completely the opposite. The overweighters classes needed the larger room because there were more people, not necessarily overweighter people, but just ordinary everyday people like you see on the street. And so that is how we kind of evolved into being the general population. There's a lot of funny little stories, but we're going to start now with a song that I don't think I need to introduce. Instead of a chair, I'm going to hate somebody. Now, in true Richard, thank you. In true Richard fashion, I want this dramatic, okay? Really, really dramatic. Really, really like so all out. This is his Broadway show. All right, James, we're gonna put this up nice and loud. I am what I am. I am my own special creation. So come take a look. Give me the hook or the ovation. It's my world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, I am what I am.
What I am, I don't want praise, I don't want pity. I bang my own drum, some think it's noise, I think it's pretty. And so what if I love each sparkle and each bangle? Why not try to see things from a different angle? Our life is a sham till you can shout out, I am what I am. What I am and what I am needs no excuses. I feel my own deck, sometimes the eighth, sometimes the deuces. It's one life and there's no return and no deposit. One life, so it's time to open up your closet. Life's not worth a damn till you can shout out, I am what I am. I am what I am, and what I am needs no excuses. I feel my own neck, sometimes the eight, sometimes the deuces. One life and there's no return, no deposit. One life, so it's time to open up your closet. Life's not worth a damn, so you can shout out, I am what I am. I am good. I am strong. I am worthy. I belong. I am. I am I am as good as you. Bob Merritt. Okay. Are you ready?
It doesn't matter if you love him or capital H-I-M, M, 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 M. Just put your paws up 'cause you were born this way, baby. My mama told me when I was young, we're all born superstars. She rolled my hair, put my lipstick on, in a glass of purple dry. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, 'cause he made you perfect, babe. So hold it, girl, and you'll go far. There's a little mistake. Be a drag, just be a queen. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Share yourself prudence and love your friends. So we can rejoice the truth. And I don't think I'm secure. I must be myself, respect my youth. It's not fair, but he's capital H-I-M. Me, don't be a drag, just be a queen. Whether you're broke or evergreen, your black, white, beige, chola descent, you're Lebanese, you're Orient. Whether life's disabilities left you outcast but leader teased, rejoice and love yourself today. Cause baby, you were born this way. You say goodbye to the angels under the night. On the right track, baby, I was born to survive. No matter what a beige or Orient made, I'm on the right track. Baby, I was born to be brave. I was born this way.
Dana is up next. Okay, I did want to tell you, all the songs you're hearing will be on Spotify for you. So you'll be able to get it, including some of the background songs, because a lot of you put down songs you liked. Couldn't put them all into this part, but they're in also this 1 hour long compilation. So you'll all be able to get it on Spotify. It'll get sent to you. Dana, without a further ado.
Got my first real six string, rolled it out the 5 and dime, played it till my fingers bled. Was a summer of '69. Me and some guys from school had a band and we tried real hard. Jimmy quit, Joey got married. No, we never get far. Oh, it'll be back now. I've seen the light forever. And if I had the choice, yeah, before I'll be there. Those were the things of my life.
If it gets too warm, we can open those doors in the back and let some air in.
There's only one man that I will ever love, and when so many men are gone. You talk all night, that ain't dead, so bad. I told you everything I possibly can. Nothing left inside of me. Maybe you can cry all night. That'll never change the way that I always feel and all I can do is keep on telling you I want you. I need you. No matter what, I'm never able to give you something. You didn't take the walk out that door. Run away. Yes, I'm telling me. Yes, I'm telling me. Yes, I'm telling me. I want to. I need you. There ain't no way I've never been. Don't be sad. I want to. I need you. There ain't no way don't be sad. Cause you gotta appreciate that.
Okay. I'll get some water, I'll tell you a little bit about those songs. There's a couple doors back there that we can open too if you need more fresh air. Okay, so I Am What I Am. That song was very special to Richard. And when he went nationwide, that was the song he chose to be the official warm-up. The first month or two, about 6 weeks, that the clubs were open nationwide, we followed a set playlist, nothing deviated. And that was the warm-up, and it was sort of an anthem for him, and it meant a lot to him. And as most of you know, it really meant a lot to him. He loved playing it. Born This Way, he had a very special relationship with Lady Gaga. She put his name in one of her songs. She had a lot of respect for him. And so Bob, do you know which song it's in? Bob will find out. Bob is an expert at this. Okay. But in Project Hope, which I see a lot of Project Hope people here, we got to use Born This Way. There was something very interesting about Richard. Because he was Richard, and because he was who he was and what he stood for, we had major artists allow us to use their songs. Now, that doesn't mean you can use them singing it, but you get the rights. Chris Phillips, where are you? This is the guy that did it, like the guy sitting down there. Chris would take the rights to the music that we got, and he would doctor the music, and then he would find singers that were sound-alikes. So it sounded very much like it, and that's how you use it in the video. Otherwise, you'd have to pay an inordinate amount of money if you had the actual artist. But Lady Gaga let us use that, and she really, we had got to use, Bruce Springsteen let us use music. It was really rather remarkable because it was Richard. We got to use a lot of contemporary music. So that's that. Summer of '69, he just played it all the time. Well, Willem, just say so, you know. Willem is also a music. We're so honored you're here today. You were very special to Richard, and it really means a lot. Okay, it's called Ribbons, and she says his name in the song, and it was really cool. So now you can all go listen to it. Summer of '69, I think he just liked it because he played it a lot. 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad. I know you all heard that song before. He played that one a lot too. Now the next song coming up, Willem requested, and he gets it because he's Willem. But Sue and Kat are teaching from chairs today. So Bob, come on up. There'll be a few of us modifying what you would do standing. and just follow us. But they're going to do a song, which I guess is appropriate to both of them. It's called Bad Girls.
Get down. Okay. My favorite girls, see them out on the street at night. Up on angels in the bright light. It's full pockets tight, but you wanna pretend. You ask yourself, you're like everybody else. It's hot. Sun's gone down and the mountains top. Spirits high. Do you wanna get down? Now don't you ask yourself, where do I belong? Like everybody else.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask a question. If Richard were alive, and we really wish he were, I mean, it's fun to be here today, but it's actually not, because something is very much missing. Someone is very much missing. And we're trying not to talk about that till later so that we can get through this part fun. But what artist would Richard really like to play now in class? Chapel Run, yes. So there's no way, yeah, these are all the old songs. There's no way I was leaving this one out. Form a big circle. Try not to block the Zoom camera, okay? Yes, ma'am. Okay. That is fabulous. Thank you. Better not. There should be no one sitting. Chris Phillips, is there a reason you're sitting down? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay. All right. So this is going to be the knee lift section. I wanted to do 100 on each leg. I got voted down vehemently by Bob. Okay, but I think all teachers come in the center, and you guys stay up on the stage. All the teachers come in. We're gonna do. How about we do like? Can we do? No. Can we do 25, 25, 25, 25? We'll do 25 on one side, 25 on another, then 25, and then 25. That kind of gets to the 100 I wanted on each leg, but not really. It's only half. And then we'll do some kickbacks too, because we should. Let's just see what happens, okay?
Do what you can.
Okay, so I edited out the beginning. I'm going to tell you that right now. So it's going right into it.
You're a pink pony girl, and you dance at the club. Oh, mama, I'm just having fun on the stage in my heels. It's where I belong, down at the pony club. I'm gonna keep on dancing at the pink pony club. I'm gonna keep on dancing down in West Hollywood. I'm gonna keep on dancing at the pink pony club. Pink pony club. I know. And dogs are on the floor. Lovers in the bathroom and a light outside the door. Black lights and a mirror disco ball. Every night's another reason why I look at all. I think my wicked dreams are here from Tennessee or Santa Monica. You've been too good to me. Won't make my mama proud. It's gonna cause a scene. She sees her baby girl. I know she's gonna scream. God, what have you done? You're a pink pony girl. You dance at the club, oh mama. Just having fun on the stage in my heels. It's where I belong, down at the pony club. I'm dancing at the pink pony club. I'm keep on dancing down in West Hollywood. I'm keep on dancing at the pink pony club. Pink pony club. Don't think I've left you all behind. Still love you in Tennessee, you're always on my mind. And mama, every Saturday, I can hear your southern drawl 1,000 miles away. Saying, God, what have you done? You're a pink pony girl. You dance at the club, oh mama. I'm just having fun on the stage in my heels. It's where I belong, down at the pony club. I'm gonna keep on dancing at the pink pony club. I'm gonna keep on dancing down in West Hollywood. I'm gonna keep on dancing at the pink pony club. Pink pony club. I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live without you. But
All right. Okay, you're going to come in with us this time. We have 2 production numbers. You know them well. I will survive. You already heard it. And then ain't no mountain high enough. Okay. So the different teachers are going to pull people in with them, and you can lead, like people like Charles can lead and Paul can lead. Yes, well, they just found that out, but they will. Okay. This is your chance. You've seen us do our thing. Now it's you guys. Okay, so here we go. All teachers come on over here. This is Laura Dodona requested production. She's going to get it. all the teachers get down here for a second.
By my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along with for your back. From my face, I just walked in to find you here without that look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key. If I'd known for just 1 second, you'd be back to bother me. Oh, now go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now. You're not welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to break me with goodbye? You think I'd crumble? Think I'd lay down and die? Oh, no. I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll still alive. I've got all my life to live. I've got all my love to give. I'll survive. I will survive. Oh. The pieces of my broken heart. And I spent oh so many nights just feeling sorry for myself. I used to cry. But now I hold my head up high and you see me. Somebody new. I'm not that chained up little person. I'm still in love with you. And so you felt like dropping in and just expect me to be free. But now I'm saving all my loving for someone who's loving me. Go, go, go. Oh, got the door. Just turn around now. If you're not welcome anymore. Was you the one who tried to break me with goodbye? Start to humble. Think I can lay down and die. Oh, no, no, no. I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll be alive. I've got all my life to live. I've got all my love to give. I'll survive. I will survive. Oh. Oh, now go. Walk out the door. Just turn around now. If you're not welcome anymore. Was you the one who tried to put me with goodbye? I crumble. Think I can lay down and die. Oh, no, no, no. I will survive. Oh, I'm sorry. I know I'm alive. And I've got all my life to live. And I've got all my love to give. And I'll survive. I will survive. Yeah, I'll survive.
Okay. So I'm going to let Bob be Richard. And so Bob is going to pull 2 or 3 of you in with him, but you guys kind of lead him. He's just going to pull you in. No, no. Okay. This is our last big aerobic song because we want to save enough time for the memorial section, which I'm so glad you're all happy now, so it will be nice. All right, let's go. Bob was going to just point at you and you come in with him and then he'll. All right, again. No, well, Cynthia will be, well, we'll help you, Bob. We'll help you. But you look the most like Richard today. So I mean, Bob made that outfit. I hope you know.
Know the way you are. Know how to how. Just call my name. I'll be there in person. On that you can depend and never worry. I know. I know you must follow the sun wherever it leads. But remember, if you should fall short of your desires, remember life holds for you one guarantee. You'll always have faith. And if you should miss my letter one of these old days, if you should ever miss the arms, if you still hold it so close, or the lips that you should touch your heart so tenderly, just remember what I told you the day I set you free.
Bob, you're a hero. Okay, so we're going to do a cardio cool down, which is going to be really slow. This is going to require some participation. If you don't want to touch somebody, just do your elbow, okay? Okay, so we're still staying in our circle. You'll get it. Trish, do you have any other comments? Where is he walking from? Yeah, I know. I'm just letting Trish talk.
We're together as we walk, just like birds of a feather. I want to tell all of the people around the city. Can they be that close? Just let me speak for the record. We're giving love in a family dog. We are family. Hey, I got all my sisters. We are family. It's fun and we just begun to get our share of this world's delight. I hope we have for the future and our goals inside. No, we don't get depressed. Here's what we call our golden rule. Everything you have, nothing to do. You won't go home. Oh no, this is our family jewel. We are
That was actually really fantastic. Wow. Muscle memory works, huh? Okay, so I'll go back on the stage for this one. I really didn't know what song to pick for the cool down because there's about 5,000. So the very first class Richard ever taught at what was Roughage in the Anatomy Asylum way back, he used New York State of Mind for the cool down. And it was just a favorite song of his. But I just wanted to take another one. You've heard it many times. It's by Starship. Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. And that was also an anthem of his because it was what he played when he first began. I mean, he started in this little cleaners on Civic Center Drive that you all know no one can find. They'd have to go to the 76 station and ask how to get there. And he just knew that he could go as far as he wanted to. So this one's for you, boss.
As I see a paradise, the world that I found is too good to be true. Standing here beside you, want so much to give you this love in my heart, and I'm feeling for you.
Let them see we're crazy. I don't care about that. And
I'm so glad I found you. I'm not gonna lose you. Whatever it takes, I will stay here with you. Take it to the good times, see it through the bad times. Whatever it takes is what I'm gonna do.
Let them see we're crazy. What do they know? Put your arms around me, baby. Don't ever the world around us just fall apart. Oh,
You need to sit down, go right ahead. We're going to form the circle. We'll take a break before the second part. We're right on target too. How about that? Okay. So the hallmark of a Slimmons class or a Richard Simmons class, there were two things that they had to have. One, the opening number had to be a showstopper, like grab you. This, the light bulb song. Good job, Felice. The last thing was there was always a motivation at the end. I'm going to try to do it now. It was the speech that Richard gave at the end, and all the teachers had to do it, especially when we first started. So I would like to say today, first of all, thank you for coming, and to all the people online too. This was a shock for all of us, and it hurt. And we wanted to wait a little bit to do this so we would be joyous like today. And since this is now Richard Simmons Day, I would hope that every February 22nd, we either get together or you remember, this is now his day for eternity. What I would like to say on his behalf is how much he loved all of you, how much you meant to him. There was nothing that could make him happier than when that music came on and he danced. Nothing. It was like everything else went away, the whole world went away, and he just had pure joy and movement. And nobody looked silly and nobody looked out of place. And today, the energy in this room was, you could just feel it. Everybody was together. It didn't matter if you were doing the exact same steps, or if you were stronger, weaker, it doesn't matter. The other thing I would like to deliver on his behalf is do not stop. Don't ever stop moving. You stop moving, it is really the beginning of the end. Moving is important. Moving is what your body was meant to do. I don't care if you are really busy, go take a walk. Please don't stop. You can hear his voice. I don't sound like him. I'm not funny, but I'm sincere. And as somebody who worked with him for a long, long time on a lot of stuff, which we will talk about, we need to be out by about 3, or so we have an hour to do our talking. I just want to say on his behalf and our behalf, thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sweating. Thank you for never giving up, and thank you for remembering. Okay, so guys, get some water. Let's form our circle. It's your turn to talk. Bob is going to start by reading the proclamation. So if you're comfortable where you are, great. If you want to grab it, there's a bunch of chairs in the back that you can just grab one and pull out.
Hi. Yeah, well, yeah, you guys like get cozy. Come in, like let's do Project Me. Like get in here and Richard liked us all close and he'd walk around and sweat all over you and yell at you, make you feel bad for everything you did wrong this week. And then he'd fill you with love. Where did Hey Dana, did you pay your meter yet? Okay. um Okay, you guys, so this is a big deal, and we definitely, Anne and Trish have really gone above and beyond in making this day happen. Not just here, not just what we're having in this room, but also what I'm about to read. Anne's passion and dedication to Richard and to all of us and to all of us at Slimmons and the community that we all had together. This was a really, really special time for all of us in all of our lives, whether you went to Slimmons once or you went to Slimmons 3 days a week for 30 years. We all know how absolutely special it was. So it's an honor, and congratulations, Anne, on getting us here to this day. So this is from the city of Beverly Hills. The proclamation, whereas Richard Simmons was a beloved fitness expert, television personality, and philanthropist who dedicated his life to promoting health, wellness, and self-love, and whereas for over 4 decades, Richard Simmons inspired millions of people around the world to embrace a healthier lifestyle through his innovative fitness programs that included fun, motivational messages and warm-hearted approach from his Slimmons Beverly Hills studio. And whereas Richard's contributions to the fitness industry made a lasting impact through the creation of the groundbreaking fitness program, Sweatin' to the Oldies, as well as numerous other fitness videos, books, and public appearances that made exercise accessible, fun, and enjoyable for individuals of all ages and fitness levels. And whereas Richard Simmons used his platform not only to advocate for fitness, but also to encourage kindness, body positivity, and self-empowerment, helping individuals regain their confidence and improve their mental and physical well-being. And now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Beverly Hills, do hereby proclaim February 22nd, 2025 as Richard Simmons Day in the City of Beverly Hills. We urge all residents to observe, I was doing so good. I have 1 sentence left. We urge all residents to observe this day in honor of Richard Simmons' life for his unparalleled contributions to health, wellness, and the spirit of kindness that he spread around the world. And Dana, who's going to be back any second, Dana, oh, there she is. Dana was so kind. She made copies of this for everyone. And so when you leave today, make sure you grab a scroll. She even sat and put a ribbon on them all night long. And we also, again, I said this at the beginning, but we wanted to give a really special thanks to Trish and Anne. Like Anne said, the most important part of all of this was to have not forgotten. You know, like we all know how special Slimmons was. So please, now's your opportunity. And if you need me to break more ice, I don't know how much more ice I can break. I'm sweating, but I'm also going to read some of the memories from people that they shared from online. But we just want to hear from you guys. Like, what were some of your favorite memories of Richard? Some of your favorite memories from Slimmons? Can be short and sweet. Oh, but there's some extra special thanks that made it possible today. I was off script there on that last one. Today would not be possible without Sue Murphy, who's here with us somewhere. There you are down there. Bonnie Polis, Susan Matheson, Felice Saylor, Julie Hogan, Dana Miller, and Trish Pollock. Who'd like to speak? Do you? They're perfect. I'm sorry, the microphone's all sweaty. I don't know why.
Oh no, I was just going to start things on a high. Thanks to the city of Beverly Hills, but you know, Richard and I come from the same corner of the world. I think it's so fitting that Richard Simmons Day is right smack in the middle of Mardi Gras season, and so it kind of connects New Orleans and Beverly Hills, and I can't think of something that represents Richard more than a holiday that's rooted in everybody's included as long as you're willing to have fun. If that doesn't say Richard, I don't know what is. So happy Mardi Gras and happy Richard Simmons Day.
Every time I went to Slimmons, I think the thing that stood out the most was just how playful and silly it was. And it's so rare kind of in the world we live in now to have the permission to be silly and act like you did when you were maybe 10 and dance like no one's watching and except everyone is watching, but playing along with it. So I think that's what I miss the most about that. And it's like when you go to other fitness classes, they're more serious or nobody talks to each other or you're kind of just there to like get fit, but not to have that joyful playfulness, silly time. So I think that's what I remember the most and kind of take with me and try to still be funny and silly and playful when possible.
My favorite thing to do the years that I was going to Slimmons was to bring a friend. And I loved, whenever I brought a friend, they always expected it to be the easiest workout ever. And I loved seeing people just like so surprised and, you know, somewhat tortured on their 900th leg lift. That was the best, that it really was this incredible workout and also fun and loving and silly. My favorite memory from Slimmons was a 4th of July class, and I brought my boyfriend at the time. And at the end of class, Richard looked at me, he pointed to me, and he said to my boyfriend, "She's the best. She is the best. Don't fuck it up." And it was like the greatest moment of my life.
So I came to know Richard from long distance as I lost weight back in Massachusetts. And then I slowly started coming out to Slimmons to visit and got to know the people of Slimmons, the family of Slimmons. And one thing I want to impart today is look at us all these years later, and we're here, and we are a family. You know, some of the most important people in my life I met there, and they are still the most important people. And you know, we miss Richard and we miss Slimmons, but we have us, and we won't ever lose that. We haven't lost that. You know, it's a wonderful feeling. You could always walk into Slimmons after having a bad day at work or whatever, and the music would come on, and it would all melt away. You know, it was our home and our safe place. And I'm just glad that we're all really here today. Thanks, Ann.
Well, probably some of you don't remember me. I started coming to Slimmons for boot camp and retreats, and I got hooked. So I live in Detroit area, but I would come out 4 times a year for a week and work out. It was just what I had to do, and I did it to the end. And I just carry that love and energy with me.
Okay, and if you don't remember her, you really don't remember. So I'm here to represent all the out-of-towners who came for their birthday. They came because they were going to be in LA, or they just wanted to come to meet Richard. But people used to ask me, what's it like? And I'd say, Slimmons was like your home away from home. And whether you got to go there once or whether you got to go there a dozen times, you knew it was there and you could always visit. So that's why I'm here.
I was a fan of Richard in Australia, and after I'd moved here, I looked up. Can you actually take classes? And it was a Friday, and like I looked it up, and the next day I was working out with Richard Simmons, which was completely insane. And then after that, all my out of town visitor friends would be like, "You have to take me to work out with Richard Simmons." So I kind of became this facilitator of hipsters to work out with Richard Simmons about 20 years ago. So yeah, and Richard always recognized me because I always had colored hair, and he always appreciated the people I would bring, and just so much joy. And the only person that could make me enjoy working out was Richard. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I don't know, new faces, old faces. It's been 20 years since I moved from LA. I was part of the Slimmons team that would travel to St. Joe, Missouri, and participated in the classes quite often I don't know, it was about 5 years, I think. Anyway, one of my stories, and this is just typical Richard for those of you who saw him inside and outside of Slimmons. We were traveling, when we were at St. Joe, we had all gone out for a really nice dinner after we had trained. I think there was close to 1,000 people that we were working with there. And Richard decided to pull his pants down at the restaurant. And I went, "Oh my God, you got a pimple on your butt." The whole place started to crack up. And I wasn't going to tell that story, but I remember it well. And every time I think of it, it makes me smile because it's so Richard.
I just want to say, I know there's some shy people in the room, so you don't feel obligated if you don't want to say anything on the microphone. So I know you two don't.
That's preemptive. Hi, my name is Danny. I have a lot of memories of Richard. Most of them are probably not fit to share. I'm sure most people have stories like that. I'll share some though. But I only meant to go to Slimmons once. My friend Alexander took me, and I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then I ended up being a 3-time-a-weeker for a couple of years. And I remember there was one day, it was an off class day, and they were filming something for YouTube. Where's Anne? Oh, there you are. So he told us about it in class, and I happened to be driving by that day. I was in flip-flops, and my shirt had like a painting of a nude woman, and my pants, I was wearing shorts, and they were kind of loose, so they were falling, so I was pulling them up, and I was passing by Slimmons. I'm like, oh, I'll stop in and say hi and see how Anne and Richard are doing with this video. And the premise of the video was the early days of influencers. And so it was a bunch of YouTube, I don't know if anybody remembers this happening. It was a bunch of YouTube influencers working out with Richard, and it was supposed to be called Workout Wednesday, and they put it out on YouTube. The thing about Richard is he loved sharing the stage. He did the circle every class. But he had to be the star, which appropriately enough, he's Richard fucking Simmons. He's definitely the star. The thing is, these YouTube influencers wanted to be the star. And so I stopped in, and Anne was frustrated, Richard was frustrated, nobody was doing the moves right. They were all trying to pull attention to themselves, because that's what you do when you're an influencer. And I remember Anne and Richard saying, Danny, go stand in the corner and do this workout, and I'm gonna tell people to look at you because I done the workout 3 times a week. I knew the moves. And we'll tell them to like look at you and do what you're doing. And so I'm in the video, I'm barefoot, nude woman on my t-shirt, and I'm trying to hold up my pants with one hand because they kept slipping down, and it's the most ridiculous thing, but it's there. um, yeah, so that's one of my favorite memories of Richard. The other, I'll share one more. It was a weeknight class, and it was after class, and me and my friend Alexander and my friend Joseph snuck into the back seat of Richard's Range Rover, and he didn't know we were in there, and we basically scared the shit out of him. And there's a great photo of that somebody took, but that's out there. Anyways, that's all I got.
Hey, Danny, real quick. Danny, can you hear me? I'm so sorry. Hi. Laura James said, Danny, and she said she remembers that story. So just wanted you to know she's watching and listening.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, I'm Sue. I started coming to Slimmons in 1994, and I was telling the story to someone today that the reason I started coming was I found Richard's book Never Give Up at Sam's Club, and so I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, I should probably buy this. Well, no, if I buy it, then they'll realize I'm fat, and it's like, well, yeah, you know. So anyway, so I bought the book, and it was about all these different people who were going to Slimmons, and I live down in the South Bay area, and I was thinking, well, yeah, that's really cool that there's this place in Beverly Hills, but too bad it's so far away. And then going down the chapters, I read one of the chapters was about this couple who lived in Sacramento, and they would drive down Friday night, they would go to class on Saturday, and they would drive back on Sunday, and they did that every week. And I thought, you know what, if they can do that, I can get my lazy ass across town. And I started going, and they were there, and a lot of the other people who were also in the book were there at the time. And I started going to Richard's classes, and I'd go to the step classes, and I had the best time of my life, and it really was home. And I met so many wonderful people there that I truly love and adore, and wish I could see more of. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Sharon, and I want to echo what everyone has said in the sense that this was a community, a family, a community, a safe haven, a place where you could just go and either you could melt in or you could not melt in. And Richard, I think I don't have these kinds of experiences with him because I was mostly in his classes, but what I appreciated is the guy was brilliant. I mean, he was not just funny and not just an actor, but his brilliance and his sensitivity, he, unlike anyone else, he could really just melt together. And one time I said to him after class, I said, you know, what you said to so-and-so, really, that really wasn't very nice. How come you're so tough on that person? And he said, don't you understand? It's that comment that's going to make whoever to do whatever is actually the appropriate, or I won't even use the word appropriate, something that would be in their best interest that he and they already knew about, but he was just kind of pushing them in the right direction. And he had that ability to tell each and every one of us who he knew, amazingly enough, by face or name, to just kind of zero in on that just so important thing that maybe we didn't even recognize ourselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mackenzie. I started coming to Slimmons in 2004 with my mom, Gail. And yeah, I'm sorry, she could not be here today. She has COVID, unfortunately. But I started coming right at the precipice of entering high school. So it was a really transformative time for myself and just a really special place that I really began to think of as home, and certainly the community within it as, you know, my people, my family, in other aspects of my life. But I think the thing that sticks with me is, I think, the attention to detail, where when it was your birthday, you maybe got a little like handmade doll that was kind of creepy, but you know, but still beautiful. But with a note from Richard. And I'll never forget when I graduated from high school, he gave me a Tiffany keychain that I still have, still cherish, and it was always a fun conversation starter. I went to school in Indiana, and so like to know a celebrity was a really big deal in any space I entered. But you know, it was just always a fun reminder of the special place in my life and a special place in my heart. So thank you.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see everyone. My name is Kathleen, and I first heard about Richard when I was 21 years old. I lived in Aberdeen, Washington, and I opened a dance company called After Dark Dance Company. I had about 100, 125 students, and we did jazzercise or dancercise exercise, and the kids would come in and said, "Hey, did you know your twin brother's on TV?" And I'm like, "My twin brother? Yeah, Richard Simmons." I'm like, "Who's he? Check him out." So I did. And then I started falling in love with him. Now, I lived in Northern Cal. I never thought in a million years I'd ever live in Los Angeles, ever. Well, I landed here. And then I met AJ Rochester, who was the Biggest Loser talent in Australia. And she told me, Richard Simmons has a studio in Beverly Hills. And I had lived here for years. And I'm like, oh my God, what? And so we started coming. I brought over 100 people to the studio. I had 2 of my birthday parties there and just fell in love with Richard and introducing all my friends and made this little button with the beads for his birthday party. But it's just so good to be here. I only found out this morning because my friend Kelly, who I introduced to Richard, told me about it. So it's really good to be here. I thank every single person who put their love and time and energy in this particular day. And we love you, Richard. So many memories, too many. Thank you.
My name's Kelly Bro, and I too am from Louisiana. And Richard lived every day like it was Mardi Gras. I loved how he would spend all day on his makeup and outfits and show up at night in his like King Tut, and just it went on and on. I loved how he would run out when the celebrity bus would drive by and we're in the middle of like kicks, and he'd run out there and give people something. I think living your life, it's not how rich or famous, because there's a lot of rich and famous people. I think it's how many souls that you touch in a positive way while you're on the earth. And he taught all of us that, to just shine your light. One day I told him, "You're the brightest star in our galaxy, dude." Anyway, so that's my memories of Richard. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Willem. I went to Slimmons from 2008 to, I'm pretty sure his last class that he taught. And he was the first person that made me feel comfortable exercising. And like as an other, I feel like the gyms can be so like intimidating and frustrating and you don't know what to do, and he was just like, just move, just keep moving. And I've had a couple of spinal surgeries after, and I go on YouTube and I look him up and I just start and do what I can each day a little bit more. And he taught me how to like he taught me how to rehab my body before I knew I needed it. Now that I'm old, I'm in my 40s, and I started when I was in my 20s. And I know. And I really miss him, and I'm glad we got to do this. And shout out to Joanne. She's watching at home. Hey, Joanne Green. We used to exercise by the fan because it was the coolest spot in the room. And I don't know. It was better than by the weights. And we didn't have to do weights today. Take it away, Rudy.
No comment.
Hey everyone, my name is David. I met Richard when I was working at the Ellen DeGeneres show, and I was assigned to produce a segment that he was appearing on. And so my first experience with him was backstage, where he was very much the Richard that we all know and love. And then I saw immediately another side to him, which was he got terrified right before he made any of these appearances on television. He worried that he wouldn't be funny enough, or it wouldn't be good enough, or he wouldn't connect with the host, or so. And that vulnerability I connected to, because I was just familiar with the confidence and the energy and the enthusiasm. That's what brought me to Slimmons. I mean, he twisted my arm and made me come, more or less. But I think that's a big part of it. And at the time, I didn't know what it meant to take care of myself. I didn't know what it meant to exercise. And what I appreciate from this group, from the people that are here, from the people that are on Zoom, from the people that aren't either, is that this was the first community that I had that was built around wellness and built around caring for yourself. And like Willem has said and Kathy has said, it's a community, and you learn to, you feel comfortable and you feel accepted and you don't feel judged, and you get that message that you just do what you can. And through that confidence, that started a spark in me that where I learned how to push myself to do more and more and more and more, not just in this class, but in other fitness endeavors and other parts of my professional career and other parts of my personal career. I hope that I'm still keeping that alive, and sometimes I wonder that I'm not enough. But that's what brought me back here from the Detroit area. So I'm thankful for all of you.
Hi, everyone. My brother Jason and me, Marla, we are the children of Judy Penley. And I'm going to give you a couple of little stories. So when I got into kindergarten, my mom got into Richard Simmons, and that she had always loved him, everything from General Hospital, all of the different appearances, and found herself at an anatomy asylum in Lakewood, California, adjacent to Long Beach. And she started working there, and it was just the perfect fit. But, you know, latchkey kids, 1980s. She made her way up when the anatomy asylums closed. I mean, she had won a cookie competition that he had in the 80s, and her recipe is in one of the books, and she had been up to his house for it, and they just clicked. And so she, you know, one summer day, I bet childcare fell through, and I had been going anyway on Saturday mornings for classes. And she's like, oh God, there's nothing I can do. I'm going to bring you to work. And Richard actually ran a pretty tight ship, right? And he wasn't supposed to come in that day. So she brought like a TV, very old TV, and said, okay, bring some coloring, sit down, you can watch some cartoons when they're on at 3 o'clock. So there I am going through the day. 3 o'clock comes, I put on the TV, it's cartoons, and Richard comes in. And I got in trouble with Uncle Dickie. And I'll never forget that. But going to more positive stories, if you talk to Judy Penley on the phone, please come and say hi. Because one of the things she loved to do most was talk to everyone all around the world, mostly across the country, and support everyone in the way that they needed when Richard wasn't available to talk to them personally. And one of the things that he imparted to her and she imparted to us is radical acceptance and radical love of whoever you are, however you look. Your being is just as valuable and important as everyone else's. And I think she carried that with her into loving everyone that walked through those doors or made a phone call, and sometimes the hardest phone call of your life. And she shared that with us, and I think we carry that on today in the work that we do and the way that we live our lives. And I will thank him forever for that. But I also need to say that he and I had a bit of a connection over New Orleans. It's a city that I absolutely love. And recently, past few years, I had to go to New Orleans for a couple of surgeries. And even when he sort of pulled himself away from the media and a more public life, I would still send him a birthday card every year and a Christmas card every year, including the photos of my 3 kids. And from my hospital bed in New Orleans, I wrote him a really good, long Christmas card, and I included all sorts of pictures. And he reached out to me in a way that I didn't think was ever going to happen. And I will treasure that forever. But I want everyone to know that February 22nd, 2039 is Mardi Gras. And it's my birthday, and I am going to New Orleans. So if you're around and you want to come party February 22nd, 2039. You are all invited. And we are going to do it right, especially since his face is all over the city, even to this day. He's just so amazing, and that radical acceptance and love of everyone will never leave us. you going to mention the photos?
No, I'm going to mention that it's your birthday. Anne really wanted to do this all week long. And so this is also, we all know when Slimmons, Richard made a big deal out of singing happy birthday. And so I will not have the microphone near my mouth, but I will try to do what he did, which was conduct somehow. And there were harmonies and all kinds of things. I'm gonna rely on all of you, but it is Marla's birthday today, and she's grown up with him. So I believe there's a little, it starts really long, like really, happy birthday to you. To you. Happy birthday, dear Mama. He could hear that, you guys. He could hear that. He could hear that.
I have one more thing. There are a ton of photos out there that I found in all of my mom's things, and they're either duplicates of ones that we've already got, or it's just people that I can't identify. Please go through those photos, take them home. If you see yourself or if you see any of your friends, it's all the way back from the anatomy asylum days to about 2000. So please take them. Truly, take them. They're yours.
Making an effort.
Hi, my name is Chris, and I remember like it was yesterday when obviously like a lot of you guys, my mom was really into Richard Simmons, but I come from a Greek family, so my mom and my dad would work a lot, and I had nothing to do except watch daytime TV. So I remember seeing Richard the first time. I can't remember where. It might have been a talk show, or it might have been his. I was too young to know what show I was watching him on. But for some reason, he really intrigued me. I was really, it was it's a really strange thing. But fast forward, every time he was on David Letterman or whatever, I'd always watch Richard Simmons. I'd always make this effort for some reason. And then I remember when I was around 18, 19, I was really doing into music and doing a lot of dance music. And I had a dream, I probably just saw him on the Biography channel or something. And I had a dream that I was doing music for Richard Simmons, for his Sweat to the Oldies, which is really, really weird because 5 years later, I get a call from the label that I was doing a lot of dance music in Canada. Like we did a lot of workout music that was very successful. And he goes, "Oh, we need you to come in because we're doing some albums with Richard Simmons." I'm like, "Huh? What?" Richard Simmons. I'm like, "What the heck?" I'm like, it was like a almost like a dream come true. But I walked into the studio, and Richard was there. There was a huge table. They were having a huge meeting, and Richard just stops the meeting. He comes up to me and he goes, "You've always had a problem with your weight, haven't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, up and down, blah blah." And he goes, "And your eyes, they're like cow eyes." So he would always call me cow eyes every time, like since then, for the last 20 years. This was 20 years ago. So cow eyes was my name for some reason. I guess I have big eyes or something. I don't know, whatever. But I don't know, the connection I had with him and how I was dreaming about doing music with him. And then I really felt like, while I'm doing music, this is kind of like my dream, and Richard was one of my dreams, and it came true. And I'm really glad to have met him. And I think that's enough before I start getting emotional.
So I just want to thank Bob for extending an invitation to attend this today. I did not know Richard personally. I did not attend Slimmons, but just being in this room filled with all this love, is so beautiful. And I just want to thank you for each of your stories. I considered leaving, and then I thought, you know what? Somebody told me to stay. So thank you for sharing.
My name is Marcia. My story is not an emotional one today, but it does piggyback with Stacy's. When I used to come into class, he always messed with me about my makeup, my hair, what I was wearing, where was I going out. And he used to pull it, not always, but one day he pulled his pants down, really trying to burn me. And I said, I'm going to up him. I went over and I kissed his ass. That shut him down. I left my lipstick prints. That's right. Yeah, I don't think I didn't think about it later, but you know, at the time I was like, I thought I was like the queen, you know? Oh, oh.
You know, you go, all these people are speaking in here. I'm thinking, okay, I'll do, you know, anyway. I always would watch TV after school and watch the Body Buddies. I don't know if anybody knew the Body Buddies, but then Richard Simmons was on, and I was watching it, and then I'm driving by in Woodland Hills. He had a gym back then over there, and I would go, God, I want to go, I want to go. Well, then Marcia tells me one day, you're not going to believe it. I saw Richard Simmons in this jewelry store. Now, this is a girl that always sees all the people I've ever wanted to see. Barry Manilow, Adam Ant, and Richard Simmons. She calls me, I see this man. So it's not fair that she always gets to see everybody I want. But I go, well, let's go to the gym. Let's do it. So she started going to the gym, and then she brought me one day, and I brought my autistic son, who is 6'2", really shy, but he is kind of adorable. And Richard just made him feel so comfortable. And all I know how it just made so much, yeah, sorry. It meant so much to me because, and he said he was his favorite that day. And Niall just loved Richard. And now I told him he passed away, he was really sad. And he goes, well, he's with his dad. And he says happy, positive things like he's up in heaven. And I go, yes, he's exercising grandpa and grandma. And just make it a positive thing. But yeah, we definitely miss him.
I'm Matt. I didn't get the honor, or I'm honored to be here in this room. I did not get the honor of spending time with Richard, but I would consider myself a second generation impact. You talked before about the impact that Richard had in this room. I get to experience that impact through Bob, and you all have the same impact as you go out in the world and share what he shared with you. So I'm just so grateful to be here.
Well, I'm Frank, and I only met Richard once, but he's been a big presence in my life ever since I met my little Debbie snack cake.
Hi, I'm Debbie. The first time I saw Richard Simmons was they were doing a promo for the Richard Simmons show, and he was, in this big park, and there's like hundreds of people following him, working out, and I was thinking, who is that guy? So I started watching the Richard Simmons show, and I loved it. And I've been struggling with my weight, all my life, as long as I can remember. And by watching the show, he taught me to believe in myself and to never give up. And really quick, we've been watching Richard's Day by Days, every day. And the last tape, I was thinking, I wish I would have been able to go to Slimmons again and share how much weight I had lost, because I've, kept my weight off for 29 years. And I lost, I lost 73 pounds, and I never got to share that with Richard. And I wish I would have, but I had a dream that I was watching the Day by Days, and well, actually, I had a dream that, I wanted to share this with Richard, that I had lost weight. Well, when we watched the Day by Day, the very last phone call that he made was to a lady that her name was Deborah, and she had lost 74 pounds, and she was at goal. And the thing that hit me was like the same name, and that she had lost the same amount of weight that I had lost. And she was at goal, and she said something. He goes, what's different about Deborah? Why did you keep the weight off? And she said something that rang in my ears. It's like, I will never be overweight again, and Richard, I have a picture of Richard says, Richard, a picture of Richard that says, Debbie, never ever give up. And that's, means a lot to me. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say thank you to every one of you who came today. The energy in this room reminded me of what a day or an evening at Slimmons was like. The love, the sweat, the energy, it was just so palpable. So thank you all. I met Richard through a friend who used to be a teacher at an anatomy asylum. Her name is Deborah Crickon. And I was working with Deb in Culver City, and she said, why don't you come with me to Slimmons to go to an exercise class? And I said, what are you, crazy? I'm going to go to an exercise class after working all day? There's no energy in my body left. And she asked me and she asked me, and finally I went. And the first time I walked through Slimmons, I was hooked. I made so many friends. I had so much fun. I lost weight. I was in videos. I went on cruises. And this day has just been so wonderful because ever since he passed in July, I have felt very lost and I felt very sad and I was depressed. And I got a therapist and we started talking. And we talked about a lot of my feelings and how I was eating my feelings down like I used to do. And when I found out about this event, I told my therapist, I can't believe I get to have closure. We got to say goodbye to a wonderful friend, to a man who really influenced us all. And I'm just so grateful to be here and say, thank you, Richard. We love you.
Get it over. I'm going to start crying. Okay. First of all, my memory etched in my brain from probably 40 years ago is going to the hip new salad bar in Beverly Hills. I went with my entire family, my mom, dad, my sister. And my vivid memory of Richard is sitting on my father's lap, okay? All right, so that's my memory of Richard. Darling, but I'll never forget that. I'm going to tell you all a secret. His spirit is in lovely, and God, this is so pathetic that I'm blanking out. Anne, okay. Anne leads a thrice weekly class on Zoom. She has saved a handful of us during really rotten times, COVID, and when your life feels horrible, she turns it around. And talk about non-judgmental. So I'm telling you this, if you want to work out 3 times a week, you're allowed to. Give us your email. There's a list out there. Find a piece of paper, give us your email, and you can be a part of this class anytime you feel like it. If you don't feel like it one day, you don't have to show up. You don't have to see us for a month or 2 or 7, but come by and say hi. It's great.
Hi, everybody. I'm Deborah also. Seems to be a great name. I met Richard in 2000. I had a broken foot. I was fat. I can say that because I was there. But, my weight has always been an issue. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And right now I'm at the lowest on the going down point as I was going up. So it's at a good point for me right now. I still have ways to go. And one of my interesting memories after knowing him, I moved away with my ex-husband. We were married at the time, obviously, but he's in the military Coast Guard. And Richard had the biggest crush on him, Robbie. And everybody wanted to go out with Robbie after class and sit in the back of the convertible. And we'd all go to the French Quarters and eat. And Richard would drive by and say, come on, Robbie, you jump in the car while the girls are having lunch. And, he'd bring him Coast Guard t-shirts and Coast Guard sweatshirts and Coast Guard hats. And he was just Coast Guarded out. But I always remembered in class that Richard would say the day he passed away, he hoped that he would just combust and all his Swarovski crystals would fly out in the air, land on the ground, and everybody could go and pick up a little piece and say, I have a piece of Richard. Well, on July the 13th, last year, the day after his birthday, I got a text from a friend who said, Richard has passed away. Now, my birthday is July 21st. His birthday is July 12th. And he would always come up and give me a little gift. And he'd say, I'm 1-2 and you're 2-1. So we always had that special little July birthday. But I actually last year went through a little bit of a transformation. I was always major tomboy. All my pictures, Richard hated my hair. It was short and spiky. And look, Richard, I have hair. It's in a bun now, but, and, you know, I'd always dress in boy clothes, more not feminine at all. But last year I went through a transformation and I started to carry pink purses. And my friend actually gave me a prescription pair of Swarovski sunglasses for my 60th birthday, but she gave them to me early in the spring. So I actually had them before Richard passed away. And I had them on the day I got that text saying that he had passed. And I took those off and I have a picture. My mom and I were at the beach in Corona Del Mar. And I took a picture of my Swarovski crystal prescription sunglasses and the case. And I said, Richard, this is for you. I have them on and I got them before my 60th birthday. So this was meant to be to remember always with his crystals. And so now I wore them today and I will wear them proudly until they fall apart or my prescription changes and I have to change it again.
I have to stand up. I'm kind of animated when I talk sometimes. My name's Greg Insko. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. And a friend of mine gave me the idea to walk from Cincinnati to Los Angeles to drop off my Survivor tape to try to get on the show before she passed away. And on my birthday every year, I would do a benefit Zumba class at my dance studio back in Cincinnati, and all the proceeds would go to her memorial fund. And one year after my 30th birthday, there was someone was trying to send me money. I deleted it. I knew it was spam. And they kept sending it. And I was like, all right, I have to read this. And I'll have to paraphrase, but it said something to the effect of, Greg, I want you to use this money to go out to Los Angeles. We think you're the next Richard Simmons, which is quite a compliment. It was $500 and not quite enough to, plane, hotel, all that kind of stuff. So I called my friend Megan's mom, Jen, and I said, hey, Jen, you want me to donate this money back to Megan's scholarship fund? And she said, no, go out to Los Angeles and meet Richard Simmons. I said, okay. So I came out here, and it was me, my godson's godmom, who lives in Chino, and the Catfish casting director. The three of us show up, and Ann was nice enough to let us in. And we're sitting in the middle of the floor waiting for Richard to show up. And probably from here to those doors, the door opens, and you see the white Swarovski crystal New Balance shoes, the blue snakeskin tights, this pink Survivor bedazzled looking halter top thing. He's holding a balloon and eating a sucker. It was exactly what I had imagined that it would be. And he comes up to me and, from the door, he sees me and he goes, Greg, where is your boyfriend? And I was like, oh God. I was like, I'm actually straight. He's like, I don't believe you. I was like, all right. So he walks up to me and he says, Greg, what's your favorite Mother's Day memory? I'm like, oh God, Richard, you're killing me. I was like, it's obviously Mother's Day weekend. I said, tomorrow is going to be my favorite Mother's Day weekend. He said, why tomorrow? I said, well, my mom divorced my dad and moved to Oklahoma and married some guy that looks just like my dad 10 years ago, and I haven't talked to her in 10 years. And he starts bawling, crying. I'm like, oh God, he thinks I'm gay and I made him cry. This is the worst first impression you could ever make on somebody. So he gets the class started, and we're all sweating to the oldies, and he gets everybody in a big circle, which I thought was special to that class. Turns out he did that every class. And he says, Greg, take off your shirt. I was like, all right. So I take off my shirt, and Ann comes up to me, and she turns me this way, and she says, Greg, spread your legs. Richard's going to crawl through them. Don't look back. I'm like, what? So instinctively, I look back, and I see Richard seductively crawling towards me. He gets about halfway to me. He's on his back. He's now crawling like a baby. Next thing I know, boom, I am straddling Richard Simmons He is between my legs. And unbeknownst to him, I don't know if you guys remember when Hostess went on strike, they quit making these things called Twinkies. I had to have the last box of Twinkies. So I got on eBay, I spent $100, and I brought it with me. Unbeknownst to Richard, I pulled this Twinkie out of my pocket. Yeah, oh yes. It was not an oh no, it was an oh yes. And so I give him the Twinkie, and as he's unwrapping it, he says, "Okay, Greg, I want you to do push-ups off my chest." Now, now, if Richard had this sweaty, hairy, burly chest, so I dug in, and here I am. I'm doing push-ups off Richard Simmons' chest. He's eating a Twinkie. I go down, he goes up. There's Twinkie everywhere. It was a hot mess. And he said, "Okay, help me up." I said, "All right." So I help him up, and he gets this close to my face, and he says, "Kiss me, motherfucker." Plants this giant kiss on me, and I'm like, "What just happened?" So Ann gives me my shirt, puts me back on, and everybody starts sweating to the oldies again. And Richard walks behind me, and he whispers in my ear. He says, "See me after class." And I'm like, like at this point, like I've had the Richard Simmons experience. There's absolutely no way in hell I'm gonna wait for him after class. So I waited for him after class. And it was me, my godson's godmom, and the Catfish casting director. And we're all sitting around, and Richard goes, "Greg, give me your phone." And I was like, "All right." So I had a BlackBerry. I give it to him. He said, "I'm calling your mother." I was like, "What?" And I didn't know if the number was even still good. I hadn't talked to her in 10 years. And so he calls my mom, and I could tell the first 2 minutes of the conversation, my mom was like, "Really, Greg, you haven't called me in 10 years. You're going to prank call me pretending to be Richard Simmons? Like, that's the best you got?" Even though as I stand here now, I kind of do a decent impression, actually. I didn't realize it was that good. Anyway, so about 2 minutes in, I could tell that my mom could tell it really was Richard Simmons talking to her. And out of nowhere, Richard goes, "Peggy, your son needs your love, and he needs to forgive you. I'm flying him to Oklahoma to come see you." And I was like, "Oh my God." So I'm crying, he's leaking glitter, there's feathers everywhere. It looked like we killed a clown. And sure enough, the next day he calls me up and he says, "Greg," he's like, "Go see your mom in Oklahoma." I said, "Richard," I said, "this is the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me. But rather than me going to Oklahoma, my middle brother is about to make her a grandma for the first time, and he also does not have a relationship with my mom. I said, I would rather try to bring her from Oklahoma to Ohio." And he says, "Yeah, this is destiny." And I was like, okay. So sure enough, he flies my mom out to Ohio, and we all met up at this little restaurant. We all forgave each other. And it took someone that had absolutely nothing to do with the situation to fix it, ironically. And so my mom goes back to Oklahoma, and Richard calls me up and he goes, "I want to see a picture of that baby." And I was like, "Well," I said, "Richard," I said, "the baby was late being born, but we all met up and we all forgave each other. Thank you so much." He goes, "No, I want to see a picture of that baby." So my mom comes back out a second weekend to come see the baby, even though we had all forgiven each other. And she goes back to Oklahoma. She gets on the back of my stepdad's motorcycle. Unfortunately, semi clipped him, truck drug him. Amputated foot, punctured lung, broken collarbone. Both my mom and my stepdad did survive, thank God. But I remember calling Richard and saying, like, "Thank you so much. If it wasn't for this insane random act of kindness, I might not have been able to say goodbye to my mom, you know?" And it just blows my mind that to this day, it literally took, me walking across America, getting hurt, walking into a YMCA, starting to teach Zumba, doing a benefit for my friend Megan, someone anonymously PayPaling me money so I could come see Richard, and then Richard coming and saying, "Greg, go see your mom." Like, it's the greatest story of my life. The unconditional love and forgiveness that he gave me is something I will always try to pay forward. And sorry for being long-winded, but thank you all for listening to my story.
So everybody knows my name is Sue. I started working for Richard in 1982 at the Anatomy Asylums in Chicago, where my friend Ann, who was the Chicagoland trainer, hired me to teach, which was amazing. And I did that for a few years until I moved to California in '84. And when I got here, I taught at the Anatomy Asylums here for a bit. And I did teach at that one in Lakewood. because I lived in Long Beach, so I taught all those in the South there. And that was really cool. And I did that for a while. And then I, got jobs and stuff and blah, 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 blah. I was diagnosed with MS in 1987 and I kind of stopped coming. And I was like, I just don't feel so good. And one day, a few years later, then Ann goes, you need to come back to class. That's going to make you feel better. And that's what I did. I came back and took class on Saturday. And for some reason that day, Richard was talking about people's health and, blah, blah, blah. And he looked at me, straight at me. He says, well, when was the last time you went to the doctor? I said, well, last week. Well, what about it? What about before that? The week before? He says, what's wrong with you? I said, I have MS. He said, okay, it was a big thing. He said, you're going to be in Sit Tight. So I got to be in the Sit Tight video, which was amazing. And I got to teach Sit Tight classes at Slimmons. And I started teaching there in 2002, 20 years after I started teaching at the Anatomy Asylums in Chicago. So that was kind of a full-time thing. And the only other thing I would say is we have so many memories with Richard and the programs we developed with him, Hoot Camp, Mission to Move, the bill that was passed in Congress, so much. But when I adopted my daughter from China, first place I brought her was to the club, and he just took her away from me. And he was always loved her, gave her gifts. I mean, I will never forget that. We had just so many memories, and I will always miss him for sure. So that's my story. And I think we have to leave now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to land this plane really quickly because I know you guys have been really gracious for your day, but obviously we all know what Richard means to us. And my favorite thing that I hear in everybody is how every single person feels like he was their friend. Like he really went above and beyond in a way that, forget him being a celebrity, any human I've ever known he knew your name, he knew your backstory, he knew what you were up to, and it's a really magical gift. We were gonna try to I'm just gonna go through some of these. These are some of the people online who had submitted their favorite memories, and I'm just gonna share a couple because I know we need to get out of here in just a couple minutes. But this one was from Connie, who said, I made these underwear with David Letterman's face on the back because Letterman was always an ass to Richard. Richard wore them on his show and mooned him. Linda, he always had a smile and a kind word. Cindy, meeting Richard on the infomercial cruise. Meeting Richard at the King of Prussia Mall in Pennsylvania in the 90s. David says, I commented on Facebook and got a fast reply from Richard. We later exchanged emails and I shared how he helped me lose 140 pounds. He was so kind and generous with his words and care. I'll never forget him. His clubhouse chats always, I'm going through multiple people. I'm sorry, I'm not saying everyone's names. His clubhouse chats have always warmed my heart since I was 15. The videos and attending classes twice a week and making lifelong friends. That's from Rose Bruno Bailey. Elizabeth, Richard would visit patients at Jewish Memorial Hospital and bring them what they had requested on his previous visit. He had a superhuman memory. Jennifer, when I was visiting my sister Kathy in LA, Richard invited us over to his home. He was kind and funny, and I'm glad I had the chance to meet him. Shaylee says, I was fortunate enough to have gone to more than one of Richard's events at local malls in the area. My favorite memory was gifting him a beautiful orchid to thank him for making me feel special. It was lovely to see his face light up when I gave it to him. Darlene, many cruises, visits to Slimmons, mall shows. When he traveled to my city, boot camp, attending one of the tapings for a workout video, infomercial tapings, working with him. But the most special memory right now would be our phone conversations. He was so incredible the way he would call. I can't even return one call, and he would call multiple people every single day. Karen, the second time I saw Richard, I ran into him in the hallway of the event before it started. My daughter was almost 3 and said, the man from Mommy's TV. He started singing and danced a little bit with her, gave me a hug and said, see you in a bit. I danced on stage with him for the second time. Priscilla, there are so many. I've followed him my entire life. He inspired me as a young child to start exercising and showing kindness to others. I was born in 1979. Charlotte used to work out to Richard with her grandmother on the TV. Laura James, And Trish, you're going to add a couple more too? Okay, perfect. I'm just going to do a couple more because the good news, I mean, they're all so beautiful. I don't want to diminish any of them, but I think we can all agree we all had the same love and the similar things. Laura James, my spot was up front, and I have many memories of getting in trouble for having too much fun and laughing with friends. I also loved how he would always make a point to say hi to everyone before class. Yeah, Trish, why don't you do a couple, and then I'll just see if there's any standouts before we wrap it up.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, let's see here. Scrolling. They're very active, you guys. They've loved this a lot. We have Lord James, currently in North Carolina. Loved being a regular at Slimmons, having our spot on the floor and all the inside jokes. He brought us together, and these friendships remain. Big shout out to all my friends I see in the room from Lord James. And then we have this, I think, is Laura Dodona. Too many memories to count. Thank you for all the love and the lifelong friendships, and we could never forget the loving and special place that Slimmons was and is. Thank you, Ann and Trish and Dana. So great to see all these beautiful faces. And then I'm going to try, Kathy, do you want me to try and unmute you? Do you want to say something? Because we can try and make this happen. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, we're going to... Guys, technology, bear with me. We're going to see if this works. But Lenny and Kathy are watching online. Lenny, can you unmute?
Yes, there we are. Hi, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Yes, I just wanted, we've really enjoyed this. As I say, we're all sad because we've lost my brother, but he's still around with us. I tell you, we did a celebration of life after Kathy and I came home. We only had 8 people at his funeral.
In Los Angeles.
And so there was over 600 people in the church where we had a mass said for him. And then we did a tribute exercise class and then a second line through the French Quarter, New Orleans. And Ann and Trish and Dana were there, and they joined us. And we were so surprised we didn't know they were going to be there. And then we had a luncheon for about 50 people, people that he grew up with in grammar school, high school, college, some of the people that he's worked with. And it was just so wonderful. But I do want to share one thing with you. I had to do his tribute. And even though I've spoken many times, I was going to say, what would I tell people about Richard? So I said, God has a plan for Richard, just like he has a plan for each and every one of us. And we could, I said my brother had many plans that just did not make it. And until he actually came to California, he quit a job because he didn't like to travel anymore, ended up being a maitre d' and a waiter at an Italian restaurant. And frankly, that's where he was discovered. So that was his plan in life, is to help all of us keep fit. And I said at the end, I told everybody that there's a little secret that the media didn't know, that under his clothing, he is wearing his tank top and shorts. And that is true. We decided we wanted him to have that. So when he went to heaven, and if God had another plan for him, he'd be ready for it, just like Clark Kent and Superman. And so we are hoping that God wants him to get the angels and saints in shape. So as I ended it, I said, Richard Simmons will be forever sweating with the holies. And so this has given us great satisfaction, that knowing that he has helped so many people. But listening to everything that you had to say, it's just made us so proud of my younger brother. Someone told me once that people die twice: the day they die and the day that no one ever says their name again. And so I'm asking you to always say Richard Simmons' name like we will, and just think about everything we can do to help to make his legacy something that will be for a very, very long time. And Kathy and I are so proud to have been able to be with you here. We wish we could have been out to California, but with the modern Zoom, we felt we were there. And we just wanted to thank you guys so much for sharing your stories, sharing your exercise, and just God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, you guys. Okay, back to Anne.
I think there's nothing, I can't follow that, that's for sure. But please know that when you leave today, there's a part of Richard that will never be taken away from you, and no one ever can. Thank you so much for coming. Let's see,